Thank you to all of our members for supporting this channel, especially the Lords and Commanders. If you're interested in extra battle reports and helping to support this channel, hit the link in the description box below. Go check out our channel partners, Baron of Dice and Grey Matter Games. They have some amazing products. There will be promo codes and links in the description box below. What is up, Wargamers? Welcome to our very first Twitch stream. I'm very excited to have our good friend Andrew with me, and we've got some very exciting news. Andrew, you've been working hard getting this Twitch platform put together, so we have another way to talk about content on the channel.
Yep. Yeah, I've been getting the logos, getting all the things set up so that we're going to be putting out Twitch content. Right now is semi-regular or whenever we want to do it, but eventually we'll want to do it regularly.
Absolutely. So if you guys are catching this on Twitch, please do hit that follow button. We need 50 followers so we can work with the Twitch partnership program and we can start having some other ways to bring you some great content. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please go check out our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/BattleShock Wargaming. So today we're going to be talking about the new BattleScroll update, which actually has a name, the Nullstone Cache.
Yeah.
So go ahead and start, and let's take a look at some of the more general changes before we get into the meat of the Grand Alliances and also the points changes.
Yep. As with all of these battle scrolls, all the magenta stuff is new, so we can just ignore everything that's not magenta here. Yeah, so the first one, the core battalions, the Wizard Finders of Antor, now have a 5-up spell ignore. So this is something that people just haven't been taking unless you just want to throw a bunch of random units into your army and don't care about drops. But now they're giving them a 5-up spell ignore, so I think that'll help bring that up a little more. You might actually see it in a few lists.
Absolutely. Being able to get extra attacks into a wizard unit and also have a 5-up spell ignore makes it a little bit more juicy, especially for anti-magic armies that are already existing, aside from obviously Blades of Khorne, who has this baked into their war scrolls, or I'm sorry, into their battle traits anyway. So yeah, I like that change. They're making these subtle little changes like, do you want to use this battalion now? The answer is still probably no, but yeah. I like that they're kind of trying to incentivize it. It does stack with some of the other things that we'll be seeing, though, so it is what it is. Let's get into the new battle tactic.
Yep, and then the new battle tactic, Drain Their Power. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if a friendly hero with a Nullstone adornment is contesting an objective that was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn. It's a very basic battle tactic, almost a give me, not really, not quite, but pretty easy one for the people that don't have a wizard, which is going to benefit, Khorne and KO, which already have a pretty high win rate. But yeah, like it's nice to have,
Yeah, I mean, being able to get a battle tactic extremely easily, you just walk onto the objective, make sure you have more bodies than your opponent. That's fantastic. That's going to be nice to kind of offset how easy magical dominance is. So you don't feel like you have to go for the surround and destroy or some of the other ones that you want to hold for later on in the game. I think it would be kind of interesting to take the Wizard Finders of Andor battalion with a hero and a battle line or two and then go hunt for that objective.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's nice. It's nice that some of these give me battle tactics are going to have counter tactics that are just as easy. So I really like that. I think that's important for certain armies and certain builds. So that's a good change, I think. And then we got one more thing regarding one specific battle plan, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, for the Power Flux, change the 4th bullet point to score 1 victory point if any enemy wizard hero units were destroyed in that battle round. This victory point is scored at the end of the battle round instead of at the end of each turn. So they're moving, you don't have to kill an enemy hero in your turn, you can kill it on their turn. So yeah, it seems situational, but there's definitely times when you can snap back at a hero, and they can't like undercut you by sacrificing their hero by throwing a little wizard into a Maw Crusher to keep you from scoring that point.
Right, absolutely. And the other thing that's important about that to note is that it is wizard hero. So units of wizards like in Luminath Realm Lords, or we're thinking like maybe Sacrosanct for Stormcast Eternals, you're not just going to be getting victory points for playing the game and killing units that you're going to be fighting anyway. That's an important distinction. I would say particularly for Lumineth, that feels bad if you're just, hemorrhaging victory points every battle round because every one of your units is a wizard. All right, now we're going to get into the Grand Alliances.
Yes. Yeah, Khorne with their mighty nerf. I think this is like their only nerf of the battle scroll.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, Corn players got to be happy, right? Because a lot of
yeah.
Corn players are like, I wasn't doing shenanigans where I could cast spells.
Yeah, they're
I
getting
was
away with
just
murder.
playing my army. Yeah. Uh, 5-up spell is automatically unbound if you try to cast it on yourself.
With your own wizard.
So, yes.
Yep.
And it's each time a friendly unit casts a spell, so you can't be like, Bellicor is going to put Mystic Shield on himself. You still have to roll the dice. On a 5-up, it's automatically unbound.
Yep.
So
Yep.
now they're going to have to take a Nullstone Adornment and go walk onto an objective.
Oh, poor Khorne. Such
That's
a
fine.
tough
They're
dude.
going to be fine. The fact that they gave them that battle tactic means that they don't need to do these shenanigans anymore. So it seems, I don't know, it seems kind of silly. But the next one's big, man. Let's go down to
Yep.
Maggotkin of Nurgle. Read that one up.
Oh,
Read that one up for Sloppity for
yeah,
me.
I'm so happy about this one. All right. Change my love is like a ripe fart to subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks at target friendly Nurgle demon units wholly within 14 of any friendly Sloppity Bilepipers playing this tune. So yeah, like as somebody who had a fun game with Gotrek into Nurgle the other day, that feels pretty good, man. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. I have experienced that same pain. I actually had Joel Hensington out here to film a battle report one time, and I was playing Gotrek, and he shut him down for 3 turns.
hey,
Uh,
Joel Hensington, what do you know? I've played him
just
too.
by just by pinning me.
Yep,
Yeah,
he's a pin
and you
master.
can't blame people for using their tech. That's some spicy tech. Now,
hmm
Aghakin of Nurgle already have an entire battle round where that happens to you
Yeah,
on the Wheel of Corruption. So Sloppity is just so oppressive, and it's kind of a negative play experience, right? Like people who know how to play around it are going to, and there's lots of armies that can lift Sloppity in one turn, but then there's a lot of armies where it just absolutely stops how they operate. I do like the fact that all demon units within 14 inches are -1 to hit. That's still pretty bomb.
yeah,
It
that's
just
pretty.
means that your opponent gets to play the game. So
Yeah,
I think that's a positive change. I'm a little bummed about it, I guess, because I've got that army and I've been loving playing Maggotkin of Nurgle lately. But like I said, they have legs in so many different ways. So whatever, change Sloppity. That's fine.
yeah,
I think that's a really, really good change. Now
yep.
we're gonna go into Beasts of Chaos. Gore Zangors, they're going to get 2-inch range for some of their foot slogging troops that were just, hating having that 1-inch range. It means that you can reinforce, put them in ranks, and you can fight over the top. That's particularly good for Zangors because Zangors blend pretty good. I won't talk about Beasts of Chaos too much. I have a feeling that Beasts of Chaos are kind of on their way out. I mean, that's not confirmed or anything, but as an army that we don't play a whole lot, I'm sure that Gore's benefiting from 2-inch range is great.
I'm a believer. I believe that they'll be renewed and reborn, not completely annihilated. That's my faith in the Beast of Chaos.
I would love that.
hmm
I love the aesthetic of the army. It's just very old. The models are very old. I love the idea of the army though, and I love their rules. The
hmm
new battle tome is kind of like right in the middle of good and bad. It's
hmm
just okay. It has a few really good builds, but some things need to happen, and it's very, very glass cannon. So, yeah. Let's go over to Skaven. I'll read this one out. So they've got a battle tactic called Flee Flee. You complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn if 2 or more friendly Skaven units retreated.
Yeah, I have it right here. It used to be you complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn if any friendly Skaven battle line units retreated and any friendly Skaven heroes retreated. So they made this easier. So
And that's great because you can do that and bait and trap. So you can just like pin something and then retreat and then pin it again and retreat and just score while they're trying to chew through 100 rats. I dig it. So we're going to pick back up on Plague Monks. Plague Monks are going from unit size 10 to unit size 20.
you want plague monks? You get more plague monks.
Yeah, sure. And they also doubled the amount of points that they cost on pitch battle, but we can get into that later. But, that just makes it harder for you to take little tiny nothing MSU units.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Plague monks are great. You can really stack attacks and things like that, but they're not like things that people are taking in droves right now because plague sensor bearers are just so amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Slaves of Darkness, man. Read me the change.
All right.
I'll tell you what I think.
Glory for the Demon Prince. Change the attacks characteristic of Demonic Axe and Hellforged Sword to 7, and change the attacks characteristic excuse me, of Malefic Talons to 12.
Yes. Mediocrity personified is absolutely right. Chris knows what's up. Giving them 2 extra attacks is not going to change that.
Yeah.
What I wanted to see was you may use your weapon and the talons that are attached to the end of your fingers and just give them like a beefy melee profile. I mean, give them a 20 points increase, whatever, but it feels bad. I've got 5 demon princes, and you used to be able to use the weapon of their choice and the talons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of those units
But
that, like, as a hobbyist, you would love to just have your custom Demon Prince out there.
absolutely. They're dope. They're really cool, man. And I don't worry, Chris. I am going to bring out a entire list of despoilers, demon princes, and we'll see how it goes. Uh, I mean, 7 axe attacks could be pretty bomb. And then
Mm-hmm.
like Malefic Talons of 12, like you could blend up some chaff units with that. That would be fun to take into Night Haunt, uh,
Yeah.
and just see how many 1s and 2s and 3s your opponent can roll.
Yep. And you'll be seeing a lot more Night Hunt coming up.
Yeah. Eye of the
Yeah.
Gods would be nice. I I would enjoy that. But yeah, Demon Prince is great. I mean, anytime I get a change for Slaves of Darkness, I get excited because I
Mm-hmm.
have a massive Slaves of Darkness army. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then for Disciples of Tzeentch, Zangors is just the Great Blades are 2 inches. Let's go ahead and talk about Horrors of Tzeentch quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a unit of Horrors of Tzeentch can only be battle line if it's pink now. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Blues and brims are cheap. That's awesome. Uh, I don't care. I mean, I'm going to take 20 pink horrors, or I'm not going to take horrors at all. That's just
Mm-hmm.
how I feel. I'm sure people have other,
You could always play
other
MS.
uses.
You could always play MS Blue.
Yeah, MS Blue, MS Brim,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it could be nice for a
totally
painting
fine.
opportunity. Yeah.
All right, let's go
All
ahead and
right.
scroll down to the next Grand Alliance, man.
Cool. Vanquishers increase the range of their great swords to 2 inches. Isn't this Jared's like dream? Or was that was every other unit with 40 mil bases? Was it Vanquishers or something else?
Yeah, he's convinced that that was done because he brought an army with vanquishers. He said that he was on Twitch stream at LVO and there was a Warcom guy there that was watching and he talked to him for like 10 minutes about it. So if that is the case, good on you. I love that. Having 10 of those that can get extra attacks against a lot of stuff is super fun.
Mm-hmm.
And vanquishers are cheap. They're beautiful models. There's Thunderstrike armor. I love everything about it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
As a non-Stormcast player, they're the metal guys with the big two-handed swords, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not like the restrictions on the banners and standard bearers either. You pretty much have to reinforce them, so now you can hit with all of them. That's great. Uh, we got anything else on the left before we go to Seraphon? Let's scroll down a
No,
little
nothing
bit.
on the left. Just on the
Nothing
right.
on the left?
Nope.
Okay. Hit everybody. What happened to Seraphon today?
They got a comet thrown at them, and it
Yeah, they
wasn't their
did.
comet. Yep. So Starborn command traits Lord of Celestial Residence changed to the first time each phase that this general either successfully casts a spell that is not unbound, successfully unbinds a spell, or successfully dispels an endless spell, you receive 2 cosmic power points instead of 1. So that's a huge reduction on the amount of CPP they get every turn. Um,
That's massive. I mean, you used to reliably be able to summon a full unit every turn. This is going to change that. And that's not all they did to Starborn, but that's where we'll start.
yes.
And then uh I'm sure that Michael was screaming with glee when he saw the next thing. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to to join us in the stream tonight, but I know for a fact that he's going to love to change the Croc score. 5 wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is having a meltdown on the different Seraphon pages because they accidentally put that they have a 5-up save instead of a 4-up save. But I would say I'm 98% positive that they're going to redact that. Otherwise, it would have been listed in the other part of BattleScroll. So I think they're going to have 5 wounds and a 4-up save. You're basically going to get 6 wounds into a unit. That means that they're better for objective control, and that means that taking a couple reinforced units gets really, really fun and pretty good for holding objectives as well. That's a wonderful change. I'm rooting for Coalesced. They've been on our channel, I think, 8 times, and they've won once. So... And that's with Croak. Any kind of list or any way we can try to build it, they just don't have the legs. If they had a little bit more damage and a couple more wounds so they could hold objectives, then the damage reduction would really start to hurt. So I'm interested to see how this goes.
The Coalesce might be the best type of Seraphon now, so you might feature him on your channel more. And Cities of Sigmar, yeah. Alchemite Warforger, Blazing Weapons, change the last sentence to while a unit has Blazing Weapons, each unmodified hit roll of 6 for an attack made by that unit with a melee weapon because it has 1 mortal wound. So it's no longer shooting. So you can't do, which is kind of the original intent of that spell, was to buff the big blocks of shooting. But they realized you could do that to steam tanks. You could do that and just start deleting everything, right?
This turns 20 and 30 blocks into Fusilier. That 20 and 30 blocks of Fusiliers are going to struggle a little bit more now. They're not going to have the mortal wound output. They're not that scary in the first half of the battle, but from battle round 3 and on, they can choose to reroll all of their hit rolls. If you're able to get this spell off and reroll all of your hit rolls on 63 dice, you can do like 24 mortal wounds pretty easily.
Are steam tanks really that good? You'll see what Games Workshop thinks about them. Came in second in LVO. Each steam tank puts out 3d6 shots. So Gavin Greiger had 5 steam tanks, and so that's what 15d6 shots, mortal wounds on 6s, plus the cannonballs that also would do mortal wounds on 6s and more damage.
Cannonballs are d3 plus 2. Basically, you roll 2 dice, and if it is less than the number of wounds that they suffer, they get to add 1 to the attacks characteristic of both of those weapons. I played Michael. He had 4 of them. So he's getting 8 cannonballs and 12 d6 shooting attacks. The 3d6 shooting attack, the steam gun, is 12-inch range. So you have to get in there and try to lift those things. They're sitting on a 2-up save base. You use the Warforger. You just say, I'm not going to cast spells. It gives them a +1. That stacks with the Pontifex. So they've got a 1-up save, 5-up ward. And if you don't try to deal with them, they're just going to lift you. So do they need to take a 20-point increase in addition to the change to the Warforger? That remains to be seen. I think that Gavin is a very high-level player, and I think that will reflect in some of the games that we've played with steam tanks. They are very good, but they are not unbeatable, and they do not hold objectives well. It is what it is. I did not see the changes that I wanted to see out of Cities of Sigmar, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to points. We got to move on to Ideneth Deepkin. This is your baby. This is your main army that you play all the time, so let's talk about it and tell me what your thoughts are.
Yep, my baby survived. So the Bloodthirsty Shivers, they no longer get exploding 6s to hit. They get auto wounds on 6s, which is essentially the maths out to about a +1 to wound, roughly. When you're on 3s and 3s. So that tones down the spike potential that they have, which the MSU Sharks and Fuethan was actually like the best way to run Ideneth before they got the exploding 6s. So there's still going to be pretty much top dog in Ideneth, but there's so much variety right now with Ideneth. It's a lot. But you're going to see less Sharks, mostly because people are probably tired of taking Sharks, but you still have Shark enthusiasts, Jaws enthusiasts and stuff out there. So not a huge change, very reasonable. The Eidolon of Mathlan. Now his Tsunami of Terror has a plus 6-inch range, so range of 18, and he can pick 3 units. He used to have to pick D3 units within range and do -1 of their save rolls. The big difference, though, is that there was a general FAQ. I think it's in one of the FAQs here that changed the rule for when you can pick up to 3 units. You can no longer pick the same unit. So this used to be one where you wanted to get a 3 on that D3 roll and stack everything on like a unit of a Mortis Guard,
Right.
give them -3 to save, and then just plow through them. In this case, you can pick 3, but it has to be 3 different units. So it's a very different way of using that spell. So I think it's overall pretty flat for the Eidolon of Mathlan. Yo, hey Dragoon.
What's up, Dragoon? Welcome to the chat.
Welcome, Brett.
Thank you for catching our very first Twitch stream. We have had very few technical difficulties so far, but they have been present. So bear with us. We're very excited you're here. You guys that are here, please do follow. We got to get 50 followers as soon as possible so we can, continue with this Twitch thing. We really appreciate it.
Yep, and we're already getting people pointing out that going back to Cities of Sigmar, the biggest thing for them is this little blank spot right here that doesn't have anything to say about the command core. None of their rules were touched aside from the D3 heal D3 units, which is huge. Everybody's been talking about needing them to be unique, but you can now spam them all you want for the next 6 months.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they're still amazing for what they do.
Yeah,
still amazing for what they do.
We'll talk about that more later. So Fire Slayers, I don't know if he's not in the chat, so I don't know if increasing the range on the Volkite Berserkers by 2, I think that's quite a bit better because it's usually pretty sad when they go into combat.
So here's how it is. And by the way, that Fire Slayers army is mine. I don't care how many times Michael plays it, it's mine. So yeah, he commandeered it. Volkite Berserkers have 2-inch range now. That's fantastic because they come in units of 10 and they're terrible. The Fire Steel hand axes are the standout for me because they get an extra attack when they charge, right? So you're going to have 30 attacks with no rend. And then they can fight on death. So you could potentially have like up to 60 attacks with no rend coming out of them. You're throwing axes. If you have the Rune of Awakened Steel, you have -1 or 2 rend. That's important, right? Now there's an entire sub-faction that's all about Volkite Berserkers. And this means that you can actually maybe do some work with them. And they took some points decreases, so we'll look at that in a little bit. But yeah, they need 2-inch range, man. If you put out a 10-man unit that has 1-inch range, it's big sad. So thank you, GW, for changing that.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next Grand Alliance.
They're half as terrible. Our Night Haunt. So Night Haunt gain an extra inch to a lot of their weapons, and they can't stop talking about it. I mean, if I gained an extra inch, I wouldn't stop talking about it either, but yeah, we got to see a lot more. So we got the Bladegeist Revenants, Dread Scythe Harridans, and Glaive Wraith Stalkers all get their range increased by 1. So you're going to see a lot more big blocks of things. I think they got a lot of good point reductions too. So you got a lot of happy ghosts right now. Been seeing that in Discord.
Their points reductions weren't really the units that they would want, I don't think, but Scarlet Doom is still a thing. I feel like they just changed that so it wasn't so good, and now it's back. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 units of 20 Blade Guys just running around just killing everything. I mean, that's an amazing build, and the fact that they're back to 2 inches means that they're back in business. Night Haunt, I believe, is one of the best armies low-key. It's a very high skill ceiling, and you have to have a little bit of luck on your side when it comes to save rolls, but they can be so hard to shift, and they can just lift things off the board. If you're playing against Night Haunt 15 MSU units, and they're just all debuffing you with charge stuff, it can be shocking how much damage they do, and you can't pass bravery. I mean, there's just so many things that they say no to you being able to do. So they're a very good army. They just are underrepresented because they are a high skill level to play, but people that know how to play them just absolutely wreck. I'll talk about this one since this is one of my armies that I love to death. No pun intended. 4+ spell ignore. That's a little bit more balanced. I enjoy it. it means that magic heavy armies aren't just going to throw up their arms when they play against it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Null Myriad, I think that Bone Reaper players just in general are tired of the meta build. Pushing pushing a Mortis Guard, Catacross, Archon, 2 units of Death Riders, and whatever else. Even if it's 4, 6, or 8 more gas, it's just getting a little tired. They've just been so sub-faction locked and
Mm-hmm.
unit locked because of the change they made to the Gothazar Harvester, the new rules with the Mortek Crawler just being not as good as they should be, and the fact that they just over-tuned so many things that they've just had to walk it back a lot, and they've put them in a weird spot. They were in a weird spot for the whole first half of third edition because they weren't able to take any of the commands out of the core book, which made them not as effective, and then they just turned them up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel bad to say this, one of my most absolutely favorite armies aesthetically, but I am just not getting a whole lot of joy out of playing the army right now, so it is what it is. I would like to see a little bit of a line refresh, maybe a couple different units. I don't care what they are, but they've got to do something for that army in fourth edition.
Mm-hmm.
I still absolutely love them though.
Yeah, I've always had a bone to pick with OBR, so it's nice to see like Null Myriad finally become a little more vulnerable to those little random magic attacks.
Sure, like a 4-up spell ignore is great. Like it's still really good,
Yeah,
and people are still going to take it.
that's where it should have been all along.
It's just a psychological thing. It's like, okay, well, you can cast a blizzard on me, but there's a 50% chance that nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like it. I think it's about a good balance change. You know what I mean? A 2+ spell ignore for an entire army, that's ridiculous. I will make one note, though. The 4-up spell ignore does not have a distance
That's right.
that's stipulated with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a board-wide 4+, which means you
Mm-hmm.
no longer have to stay within range of Archon or a Mortesian. So
Yep.
in a way, it's a little bit better if you don't want a castle and you want to just run around the board. You
Yep.
don't have to worry about hanging out with Archon. So that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
because they've been taking the grand strat to keep that little wizard alive, and usually we have to bring him up with all your rest of your army. He's more vulnerable, so now you can just kind of hang him back a little more, which is
For
great.
sure, yeah. So I like that as a change.
Mm-hmm.
It's a buff nerf, so that's
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, Chris. Absolutely, you have to be careful because you have command corps out there, and
Yep.
gosh, that sucks. That just
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Not being able to
I
do
mean,
certain commands at certain times, man, it's game changing, dude. It's game changing.
yep.
I feel like you should have to like pick one phase. Like, okay, this battle round, I can disrupt the combat phase. So
Mm-hmm.
just remember that. Instead of being like, ooh, you're gonna auto pass bravery. No. Or like, oh, Catacross, you need to give a +1 to save and hit for your entire army. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's ridiculous, man.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
So let's see. Pick one friendly summonable unit within 3 inches of any enemy unit. So you complete this battle tactic if any enemy models were slain by that friendly unit this turn, and that friendly unit is within 3 of any enemy units at the end of this turn. So I'm not sure exactly what was different between that. Do you know?
I can tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, you used to not have to slay anything, so you could put a unit of skeletons in that have 1 attack apiece, 5s and 5s, and aren't going to do any damage,
Mm,
and just be like, oh, I'm still in combat with you, and like picking a big tanky unit that maybe doesn't have the damage to lift a unit of skeletons is how you grab that tactic really easily.
mm,
So now you have to slay something. So if you're pinned by a god model or a centerpiece or even Cav that's sitting on 3-up saves, and skeletons and dire wolves are not going to do it for you anymore. So it basically means that your summonable unit has to kill some of the unit and not die,
yeah.
which I mean that's fine. That's
Yeah.
good. Soulblight Gravelords is amazing, and if you know how to play it, you can just do amazing, terrible things while you're playing the game. So tweaking one of their battle tactics is not the end of the world. And there is one huge change to Soulblight Gravelords that I can't wait to talk about when we get to the points values.
Mm-hmm.
But first, let's roll to the last Grand Alliance. Talk about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Destruction. Okay, so the first big one is the battle tactics. They lock them to the general. The general has to be a Cruel Boys keyword or Ironjaw's keyword. So the big pile in and sit back and get all the objectives is nerfed quite a bit.
Yeah. It's basically just matters for Big Wa.
Which is the only one
So
that matters right now.
right, absolutely. Sneak up is so ridiculously easy if you're playing Cruel Boys. They still need it. They still need that. Big Wa does not need that. Big Wa is great. It's just
Yeah.
very, very good.
Yeah.
That's Our Turf now is a little bit harder than people think it is to get 2 units within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield. It matters what kind of army you're playing. I've done it. I've done it in 3 of 5 games, but it's not always available to you. And a smart opponent is just going to plug that hole up, or just do a clever redeploy or repositioning at some point during the battle can make you miss that battle tactic. So it's not as easy as Cruel Boys. It is kind of a pity tactic, but it does take some thinking to do. It stacks nicely with Intimidate the Invaders because you're already headed that way. So I like Magical Dominance, Surround, Destroy, Intimidate the Invaders, That's Our Turf now, in some kind of combination. So I've been scoring pretty well with Iron Jaws. We love Big Wa, but when I play Big Wa, it's just with all Iron Jaws models. And then they trade smashing and bashing for hitting on 2s and 2s with their entire army in late game. So that's fantastic. And then we got the big pig, man. The big pig.
Big
Some
pig.
stuff has changed.
He loses momentum at the end of the battle round, not the end of the turn, right?
Yeah, so that's great. There is a sub faction in Iron Jaws called Iron Suns, and they can countercharge. So my dream list right now is to take a couple units of our boys for screens, or even a couple units of brutes for screens, since they're a little cheaper, and let them get charged, and then just let the pigs use their unstoppable momentum by charging in their phase, and then clearing some stuff out. If they survive, they get to do it again in the next turn. It can be amazing, right? The fact that gougers are so cheap makes me really want to just have 3 gougers just to countercharge and fight last battle line and just obliterate stuff, because they can do a shocking amount of damage. When I played with a gouger into Beast of Chaos, it had no problem killing every single unit it touched because they're all on 5-up ward saves, or I'm sorry, on 5-up t-shirt saves, and 3s and 3s in Big Wa, man, 2s and 2s late game, and they just turned into blenders. So not as much of a change as I would want to see. I would have liked to see the rules change just a little bit as well. So yes. So Chris is looking down at the monstrous action that they tweaked for Sons of Behemoth. Go ahead and read that for me, Andrew.
All right. Replace the first sentence with pick 1 enemy unit within 3 of this model and roll a dice. On a 3-up, that unit cannot issue or receive orders in the following combat phase. In addition, if the first roll was successful and the enemy unit has wounds characters 1 or 2, roll 2d6. If it's higher than the unit's bravery characteristic, for each point by which the roll exceeds that unit's bravery characteristic, 1 model flees. So that's specifically targets cities.
And it targets anything that's 1 or 2 wounds. Yeah. And low bravery. Rats.
I guess it's the wording of orders. So it's not a roar. Does it not affect command abilities then? Pick 1 enemy unit within 3 of this model on a 3-up that unit cannot issue or receive orders in the following combat phase.
So no commands in combat.
Okay, so the word orders is probably incorrect. Because like cities can't give they don't have an order that activates in the combat phase, I think, unless it's I think it's +1 attack. Yeah, +1 attack I think activates in the combat phase if they charge.
I'm almost positive that they're talking about issue or receive commands.
Yeah. Okay.
This is another situation like, oops, we made the Croxagore have a 5-up save. So nobody worry. I'm sure they're going to fix that eventually.
Don't worry. They're not just targeting cities.
Yes. But that's a nice change. So this means that if they're bravery 10, then you still make it to where they can't receive commands in the combat phase. Great. So it's not a roar, so you can roar and you can do that. So you can shut down 2 units for commands, and it's not going to be situational to where there's like 4 armies that have low bravery infantry models for you to do this to. Yeah. So that's great. Let's keep going, man. It's just getting juicier.
All right.
I'm
Here we
trying to
go.
really hype it up. A lot of these changes are very minimal, but we're going to get into it now. We're going to start looking at the points changes.
Aether Void Pendulum's nerf to the ground. No, it's 50 plus 10 points. That's fine. And Geminid's up 10. And Life Swarm's down 10. A bunch of little things, little adjustments there. Burning Head, it's kind of cool. Now it's 20 points. You can just throw it in.
Yeah, anybody can get a little head now if they want to. I like Quicksilver Swords at a -10. That's a sneaky endless spell that takes away ward saves, so that's great.
Yeah.
So Beast of Chaos, Bessigors went down by 20. Michael played a list that had like 60 of those in it and had no problem just dismantling it because of its terrible damage output. So I feel like,
Yeah. And do they get 2-inch reach as well, or is that just Gores?
I think they already have 2-inch reach, but like I said, Beast of Chaos is. We're a little sad on Beast of Chaos right now because we don't know what's going to happen with them. However, Blades of Corn, the Claws of Karanak went up 20 points. This is big because they have a pregame move. So now you have to work a little bit harder to fit them into your list. They're decent in melee t-shirt saves like any other warband, but that pregame move is amazing when you stack it with move in the hero phase, murder lust, all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing like taking a really cheap 100-point unit and pinning a centerpiece that's 700 points and doesn't have any missile weapons.
I don't know anybody that does that. Like,
Nobody does that ever.
Nobody sends a random hound into my eels.
I did. I think I got a high score that day by pinning 5 units with 1 flesh hound.
Yeah,
it was a good game.
Yeah, and I couldn't freaking shoot the thing off. I don't know. I feel like again, it's like the big news is this little gap here. Like there's nothing else really nerfed in there. That's all they got. Is that one the wizards and then this, and they get in the
they're balanced. Tactic. They're totally balanced, man.
Totally balanced, totally fine.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Love them or hate them, they perform well. Once again, they're pigeonholed into kind of 2 specific builds. One of them is like Unfettered Fury and Scarbrand, and another one is like a bunch of Bloodletters. Really, like they needed to change Murder Lust immediately. I think they should have just changed it to where you can only do it once instead of you have to use multiple Blood Tithe points, because late game that is so clutch. I have won games multiple times just by making my opponent miss a battle tactic at the end with Blood Tithe points.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've played whole games where that's the only ability that I use with Blood Tithe points, and it is so impactful that it's ridiculous. Yep. Like playing against Fire Slayers one time, I completely pinned and shut down the whole army for 2 turns with 2 units of Flesh Hounds. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have some tech that's very hard to deal with. However, they're not on the podium all the time. They're in the 4-1 bracket, so GW seems to think that they're in a good place. That's fine for me. I'm a Corn player.
Yep.
I'm wearing a bunch of red now, so let's go, baby. Yep. Let's just keep doing our thing.
Yeah, I'll take us into Cities of Sigmar. Yes. So, speaking of getting away with murder, this is not a problem for me at all as a burgeoning Cities player. Steam Tank going up 20 points. I would rather them remove some of the synergies that it was benefiting from. The fact that the Command Core Surgeon is also a mechanic, but she's kind of racist and doesn't fix elves or dwarves, but she can fix tanks. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're still benefiting from all the other buffs. You can still have that combo with Warforger, with Zenestra, just putting them at an impossible save, a really negative player experience. But at 250 points, you're not going to see them spammed quite as much. One thing from this is that Gavin Greiger's list at LVO went up about 170-ish points. Roughly because of all the Steam takes he took. But the guy that beat him and won LVO, I think his list went up about 30. Yeah, and nothing really changed. Like, he wasn't really doing the mortal wounds and 6s, and so that whatever he was doing, which I think he was just denying the critical command points, like all like Catacross or Marathi or all these other command abilities that are just make an army function. Yeah, a board-wide deny on that. Oops.
One interaction that I want to touch on with the winner of LVO and Gavin that probably happened is a Steam Tank commander can hand out a command to itself and to another unit. And I'm not sure what subfaction he was taking, but if he was taking Greywater Fastness, he can issue a command up to 3 times, which means that effectively you can issue an all-out attack to 4 units, steam tanks, for 1 command point. However, you cannot issue it to 4 steam tanks if the command corp rolls a 4-up. So I bet you that happened at least once in that match. Once again, I don't remember if Gavin was Greywater Fastness or not, but Michael sniffed out that spicy tech. I've played against it. It's something that you need to prepare for.
Yeah, because there's some things allow you to issue a command multiple times for free. Others, when you issue the command, you issue it to multiple units, right? So you could deny that single command and deny it for other. So it kind of depends on the wording on that. It's something that you want to double check. I know it's the same thing with Idaneth and Domhain has that similar, where they issue redeploy 3 times once they issue it once.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Steam tanks went up, and Command Corps did not lose their unique keyword, and they're still too good, but they're 200 points.
Yep.
Great.
So you could still take 2 packs of them, and you'll be fine. Like even like OBR, like if you had Catacross, or you substitute Catacross out for 2 units of Free Guild Command Corps for 100 points less, like it's kind of, I mean, he's great, but like, I mean, the Command Corps would have an argument there, even in that situation.
Talia Vedra going down 40 is good.
I'm so happy. I don't have you can't find a Griffin anywhere, and I didn't want to get a Griffin. I like the Lion. And everybody's like, oh, the Lion's cool, but I don't want to run it at 340. It's at 300 now. You're going to, you could bring her in and not feel so bad. And I don't know about the other guys that they're worth it. Like the Wildercore 130 is great. The Fusel Major, I think, is still going to be, 130 puts him, he's still. And the Great Cannon is just greater,
It's okay. I've played against the Great Cannon a couple times. It can do work sometimes. Let's look at Daughters of Cain.
Yes. So not a whole lot here. Morathi going down, and the various cauldrons going down as well. And the Underworld unit that nobody will ever take nobody will ever take has gone down to where they'll never take it.
Every time I play Daughters of Cain, I get the brakes beaten off of me. So, like, I just watching them go down in points, I'm like, oh, great. I think a smart player with Morathi can do some really dirty things in the couple turns that she's alive to pin you and stop you from getting things that you want. And then the whole time you're either just getting shot or meleeed to death. I think, once again, high skill ceiling. But Dragoon, you know what's up.
Yep.
Fight on Death is scary with just 10 combat snakes playing against 20 of those. Let them fight in the hero phase. Let them fight on death. Let them fight in the combat phase. They're going to do like 16 mortal wounds, a bunch of other damage. They are insane.
And they're also so elite that, like what Dragoon was saying, like Morathi going down 20 points, it just squeezes that little bit of room, so you could put a little more tech into certain spaces that you couldn't before. Because like there's been a lot of stuff where it's just like you just can't fit anything more than just, if you want to do Morathi in the bow sticks, you're doing that. Like versus, there's a lot of other little subtle things that now you can do with just a little more room to move things around.
Or you can take the Burning Head.
Yeah, you could take the Burning Head. Morathi and the Burning Head. Morathi can cast Burning Head.
Ooh, I like that. I like that list. Yeah, I played against double reinforced bow snakes and 10 combat snakes in Morathi, and I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I gave away the turn on one because I thought I was fortified, and I lost my ass. So, I said, they are very good.
Yeah. The only way to
knows what they're doing.
Yeah, the only way to beat him is to just punch him really hard in the mouth and hope the Shadow Queen doesn't, get you stuck in the wrong spot.
I want to take a second and just say that I don't like how they organize this alphabetically. I wish that it was in Grand Alliances like the piece above, but that's okay. We'll switch gears and talk about Disciples of Tzeentch. Chainscaster, Magister, Ogroi Thermitors, and the Jade Obelisk are all down. That's great. Jade Obelisk has a really good provocative war scroll that's techie and you can play around with it. Pretty cool. The Ogre Thermiters needs to go down in points because he lost his value in the being able to cast 2 with Arcane Tome.
Oh yeah.
Because being able to cast 2d6 mortal wound spells at 27-inch range was great. He kind of fell off the map after that was changed recently. So yeah, I think those points reductions are fine. They didn't increase or decrease anything, so it is Summoner's Guild all the way. It's
Yep.
still Summoner's Guild. That's going to be the list that we ride into 4th edition, and that's fine. I love Summoner's Guild. It's super fun to play. Nothing like putting a 3,500 point army out in front of
Yep.
your opponent.
Now,
So
the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is another one where like the biggest news is the glaring omission, because I know that there's a lot of scary combos in that army, and you see all green, see nothing with the rules changing. They're free to run and rampant across the meta, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Terrorgeist and Zombie Dragon, nobody's going to take. It doesn't really matter if they were like 180 points, and people would take them. But there's just too much spice in this book, dude. The Crypt Horrors are ridiculously good. The Flayers are ridiculously good in certain builds. Blister Skin is going to be really fun with multiple Flayer units. Morbeg Knights are going to run across the realms, crush everything. Crypt Horrors are impossible to kill for good, and they just do a ridiculous amount of damage on the charge. We're talking 3 and 4 damage coming out of a 130-point unit. With Usharan, it's going to be insane. They're going to let them play because their Battle Tome hasn't dropped officially, but we've play tested this army and it is fantastic and amazing, especially in armies that have a mediocre to t-shirt save. They just absolutely obliterate. They have a harder time against Stormcast Eternals, but they have fair mortal wound output, that kind of stuff. One thing you'll notice here is there's some 5 points adjustments. Yep. That just tells us that this book has been written for a while because they're trying to just do away with all those 5-pointers. The Crypt Infernal going down and the Varghulf going down is fantastic because I was having issues list building where I was off by like 5 points, and that's why.
Yeah.
Royal Beast Player is kind of dead. I mean, they're okay for how many points they are, but they're just not what they used to be. Nagash, it looks like he took a huge points drop because once again, this book has been written for a while and he was still at his 965 or whatever he was. Those changes are laughable. It's only good for Flesh Eater Courts right now, so just expect everybody to be running those all the way up into the end of the edition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to say episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next episode.
Good stuff. So I'm stoked on Flesh Eater Courts. I've got a ton of Flesh Eater Courts on the way, so I'm glad that they didn't do anything too drastic yet.
Yeah. Let's get running through these guys. Fire Slayers, all green. Pretty.
Yeah. So
I don't know which one's which.
Okay, so let's look at a very common build, maybe a double reinforced unit of Berserkers, a single reinforced unit of Berserkers, and an Auric Runefather on Magmadroth. So that's 70 points you just saved right there. And then, the Flame Spitter went down, the Battlesmith went down. Battlesmith is in all the lists. So I'm basically looking at about 100 points of a decrease in the typical list that we would run. And we're talking about Greyfeared. If you're talking about all Magmadroths, that's fantastic as well. Maybe you can get a couple chaff units in there. But yeah, they just went down everywhere. And keep in mind, they can take a Nullstone Adornment now, so they can have an easy battle tactic to do at some point during the game.
Yeah.
They have a really good battle tactic where if your opponent holds more objectives than you at the beginning of the turn, if you hold more objectives than them at the end of the turn, then you get it. So basically what you can do is you can deploy around the objective, but not on it. And they've deployed on their 2 objectives or 3 objectives or whatever. And you're like, okay, you got hold 1, 2 more. Now I'm just going to step onto this objective and then beat you off of one of the other objectives, and I got it. So they have play, once again, high skill ceiling. You have to know when to pop your runes. You have to have a little bit of luck, double turn here and there, but you have to overcome their mobility by getting mid-board as soon as possible and not overstretching with 1 or 2 units. You have to keep them together and wait for, vicious counterstrike and all of those different runes and abilities to stack. Then you can do magical things with that army. So I'm stoked that they went down in points, man.
Yeah. I guess that answers my question. I was kind of wondering, because there's the concept of like race to the bottom, where things are just losing points to the point where it's just bodies. But you don't think it's quite reached that level. It's more just opening things up to kind of allow them to do some new things. Like the battle tactic is definitely a positive for them as well.
Yeah. Now you can take another invocation. So they have a grand strategy where if you have an invocation on the board at the end of the battle, then you complete it. So being able to spam 2 of them, so somebody can't just use a priest to try to get rid of it is really good.
Yep.
So like I said, with the change to the new battle tactic, the wizard finders, there's some fun stuff that you can do with fire slayers, and that's definitely going to be an army that we feature on the channel really soon, so we can try to see kind of how the points changes have shook out.
Yeah.
Loomspite Gits is nothing that I care about, but we're going to read it anyway.
Yep. Spiders going down. Loom Boss and Mangler Squig, 10 points. Not much. Scuttle Tide down. Snufflers up. Gobblepalooza up. Boingrot Bounders up. All those things destroyed me at LVO. So I'm happy to see those going up by 10 points. I'll take it.
Boingrot Bounders are really, really good. No, I like them, Chris. I just don't care what they do with their points, because it's 10 points here and there isn't gonna change anything. They're still gonna be amazing. Like you can make a good army with every list, like with every kind of unit, man. Like Michael's probably stoked because he painted an entire spider army for one of our friends, and we're hanging on to it in the studio for a little while. So he'll be excited to bring that out again. And they do a shocking amount of mortal wounds, dude.
When they roll correctly. Yeah.
They're just always good. They're like Lumineth Realm Lords to me. I never count them out. I don't care how many points I'm winning by. They can just crush. But yeah, a couple of points changes here and there. Boingrot Bounders, Gobblepalooza, and Sneaky Snufflers. We've got 2 buff units, and we have 1 hammer unit that's too hammery for how cheap it was, and it's just getting a little bit more expensive. Great.
Yeah. Fair and balanced. Right, Heated Knights of Slaanesh. So we have a lot of the keepers going up, and I've heard that there's a few lists that have been doing well with a bunch of Keepers of Secrets, and Shalaxi and stuff. But it might have been just a one-off thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they're okay. They have some okay damage output, and they can do some shenanigans. The mask has really amazing tech, so you can remove the mask from the battlefield and redeploy it within 3 inches, or just outside of 3 inches of enemy units, and then she can run and charge. So you can get that little thing anywhere, and you can give her, I think, +3 to her attack. So she's sitting on like 8 attacks that are 3/3s -1/2. So she can just kind of pop something or help you get a battle tactic in the first turn. If somebody decides to give you the first turn, you can do your shenanigans with her. There are some interesting things there. They're basically giving everybody a temptation dice and saying, would you like to collect more demons, or would you like to keep collecting the same Blissbarb Archer list that everybody's running right now?
Yeah, that's true. It seems like it doesn't address like the core issues of Slaanesh, but it opens up that possibility of having a different type of list that I think people have been exploring in the down low. At the Keepers of Secrets are on a 4-up save, which is like a tank for Slaanesh. So you might see more durable builds.
They're good. I was reading through their War Scroll a while ago because I don't want to just play 33 and 44 Blissbarb Archers all the time on our channel, Contorted Epitome. I would like to explore the other sub-factions, but they just look like hot garbage to me. So I'm going to take a little bit more time to look into it. Let's see what we can do with these points changes and try to collect some more Slaanesh, and we'll see how it goes. IDK, baby.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, so once again, like the stuff that's not there. Like the Sharks did not go up in points. I think a lot of us were expecting that maybe they'll go up 10 points. I think 160 would be fair for the Sharks. But yeah, Ishalang and Morsar Guard, everybody wants to run more eels, I think. And now you can. I think it opens up more of the Iron Rack builds. I like to have a pack of 6 eels in a lot of different builds as a quick moving hammer. Helps a lot with that. And my wish list included the Eidolons both going down in points. So they're going to still be in that place, that weird place where they're still, useful tech, but they're not going to be doing a whole lot. But aside from that, like, the fish are happy. We're happy we didn't get touched. We're in a good spot. We're not oppressive, but we're not, we're just swimming through the sea. KO, they've been needing all this red. I don't know if it's enough red for them. I was surprised in the video that he was saying that they're at a 52% win rate when I've seen a lot higher on some of the other stat centers. Yeah, do you think these will be enough to kind of do much for them? It looks like
They can be very good. They have limited range on a lot of their damage output, and you have to focus down and scalpel units off of the battlefield. The problem with them is scoring primaries, but they score they score secondaries so well because their battle tactics are so easy that if you just focus fire and pick a flank and move across the battlefield, it's pretty easy to just diffuse your opponent over time. That being said, you do have to understand how getting in and out of the boats works. You need to understand on how to overlap and use your buffs at just the right time. The army is not as easy to play as it looks like, but a skilled player can do amazing things with it. Jeremy Vessier has been winning games with Caradron Overlords for like 3 years now, and it doesn't matter what kind of rules they give to him. He just knows that missile weapons always outplay melee if you know how to position the units properly. It's fundamentally a very difficult army to balance and a difficult army to make it fun to play with and against because it's so non-interactive. I don't think it's enough. I like how they moved toward melee when they made this book, and I think that maybe they can make maybe they can make the boats a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit more tanky, but really expensive, and just prioritize foot troops that can shoot. That would be fun. I would like to see Caradron Overlords have boats for centerpieces and maybe like showcase gun haulers a little bit more like they tried to do in the Army of Renown, but not very well. That's kind of my wish list for what happens with them in the future. But right now, they're just going to have to try to balance a skew list that just obliterates certain armies and then gets obliterated by a couple armies that are hot in the meta right now.
Yeah.
So otherwise, their win rate would be even higher.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing kind of knocking them in the meta is the Spy Master that can turn off fly high, which just it just destroys their main thing.
Thank you for joining the stream. We appreciate you. No pressure to hang out with us super late and watch the stream, but we do appreciate you showing up. Don't forget to follow. We want to hit 50 followers as soon as possible so we can get you guys a bunch of Twitch content. Okay, Lumineth Realm Lords. They're getting points decreases.
So Techless, Wind Mage, Sentinels.
Sentinels going down by 10. And Techless going down by 20. That's another endless spell. That's a lot. Lumineth Realm Lords is an army that I respect and fear. They're amazingly good. And if you know how to play them, you can do amazing things. The fact that they're bringing Techless down after just recently winning a major event with Techless and a bunch of Dawn Riders seems weird. And bringing Sentinels down to 150 is scary because then people are going to take 30 and 40 of them again.
Yeah.
They don't need points changes. You're absolutely right. So this is the first one that I'm really scratching my head, and then there's one toward the end that I definitely don't understand.
As an Idoneth player, I don't respect them, and they always get what they want, so they get it again. That's my.
They do, and they have all the rules. They're like the Bone Reapers.
All the freaking rules. Yep. All right, Maggotkin. So they're getting a lot of the things on the edge. The Harbinger of Decay, which went up. It went up like 40 points, and now it's down 20 points. So he's slingshotted.
very lackluster. Lord of Plagues is very situational, lackluster. Gutrot Spume is the same. He's the one that can take Blight Kings into reserve, and then you can, fly around in a pirate ship that's infested, and then you can drop on a table edge. People just aren't playing Blight Kings. That's the problem. So those two units are kind of obsolete. Morbidex Twiceborn going up by 10 points doesn't matter. When I build my list with the 3 Magoth Lords and the Glotkin, that leaves me 400 points. Now I have 390 points. So I have to take one less 100-point unit and then just summon it later. It's fine.
Yeah. Might see more Rotmire, though.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we'll take points decreases on cheap wizards for sure.
Yeah, and the Rotmire Creed is just like a useful disease spreader, right?
Yes. Yeah, they shoot. So you use their 18-inch range to spread disease. They're basically like plague drones. The plague drones have the same kind of shtick. They just move within 7 and then shoot you, but they can do this from farther away. So this is a good way to disease your opponent. It's fun to do to things like Marathi or somebody that can caps damage or is really really tanky, just so you can get some chip damage through. I would like to take like 2 or 3 units of those, but I don't know how badly I want to. I mean, I probably won't buy 3 boxes of a warband, so I can do that, but it would be fun.
Yeah.
Night Haunt.
So Ulrek the Drowner, Nagash, Reikenor, and the Scriptor Mortis. I haven't seen Reikenor a lot lately. He used to be all over the place.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Anytime you decrease points on Night Haunt heroes, you have to be careful because they're really hard to kill anyway because of the Spirit Host wound batteries that hang out all around them. Reikenor the Grimhaler has some pretty fun stuff. He hates wizards, so he hits and wounds better against them, I think. He also has an ability to snuff out a corpse candle still. Confirm that with me, Chris. Can he still snuff a corpse candle for plus as a cast? He'll answer me. I know he will. But yes, Reikenor the Grimhaler is pretty good. He also has a giant move. So he's good at just being like, now I'm going to go steal an objective or run into the corner of the battlefield and then meet my ghosts back in the middle.
Yep.
Ulrak is really cool and he's cheap. And, I want to buy that model. Michael's not very hot on him, but I want to buy that model and then just play with Michael's Night Hunt army and throw 2 black coaches and Ulrak in there and just have fun. But,
bunch of wood.
In the future.
Yeah. Yep, and it's one of the things that I don't tend to struggle into. They got the Doom Lozenge that just like sits in this big pile that you just can't break into, which is tough for scalpel armies.
Get ready for 60 and 70 Blade Geists, man, because they're coming back big time.
I am so excited.
I've got some good news about Ogre Maw tribes. We'll move into them. So the Blood Pelt Hunter, cool little tech piece if you want to be invisible and hop around in terrain. That's great. Doesn't really matter. The Butcher going down by 10 points is fantastic. Frostlord on Thunder Tusk. People aren't really taking Frostlords. They're preferring Beast Riders and Huskers right now because you can stack those Blood Vultures and do some really nasty things. I would rather take a Huskered on Thunder Tusk and just keep my old Frosty on Stonehorn and then like 3 units of Beast Riders and a Huskered on Stonehorn and then you just have like 5 or 6 Blood Vultures and just really high damage output. But the interesting thing about this, shout out to Dan, Rage Babies. This is one of his lists that he loves so much. He takes Kragnos, a Huskered, 2 units of Stonehorn, Beast Riders, and a Mournfang pack to round out his battle line. And he was off by like 20 points. But now they've lowered Mournfang pack by 20 points. So you can take 3 Stonehorns and Kragnos, and you can get your 3d6 charge and just crush things. Dragoon knows. So I've played with that list before for fun before they reduced the points. Dan went to LVO not this year but in 2022 and went 4-1 with 5 models. It was hilarious. And that list is back, so that's really exciting. Also in my list where I run 5 Stonehorns and a Butcher, that's a little bit cheaper now, so that's great. Ogre Maw tribes is freaking, they're so fire. They're so good. Like, they're so good because they're fun to play. They're challenging to play against, but they're not as negative play as some of the other really hot armies. And they're very, very cheap to collect. I mean, you can buy a stone horn for like $60. So
Mm-hmm.
you can spend like $400 and have like just the most fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely one of my favorite armies, man.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty hot on that points change for that one specific list. Once again, shout out to Dan. That's his list.
Yep. And ledge belchers too. All right, Orc War Clans. This is a lot of green for a green faction. And the pigs all going down. I think they want people to actually buy the pigs and use the pigs.
Yeah.
Um, Aside from this, the Ard Boys. You had Ard Boys in a recent battle report. None of this other stuff is the Kiloboss and Great Nash too. Like none of this stuff is like seen too much. The Kiloboss though, yeah, these are 110 points with a 3-up save and like 12 wounds. I think he's pretty.
The Nash Tooth doesn't have 12. I think he's an Andorian. But what he's good for is screening and doing a little bit of damage and helping you get battle tactics, and he's cheap as can be. So yeah, like okay, here's something. I just played Iron Jaws list that was 1940. And I was playing with Ard Boys, and I was also playing with one other thing that went down here.
The
No, just the Ard Boys. So the Ard Boys going down by 40.
Oh, and the big
That
boss.
would have, oh, the big boss. That's right. That would have given me another 50 points. So I could have taken, a whole nother unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I could think about like allying a Cruel Boy in there just to be silly. But yeah, points changes are great. The problem with the Ard Boys is they didn't change the 1-inch reach for the Choppas,
Mm-hmm.
and like they have okay damage output with Violent Fury. They have 3-up saves. You can use Zograk to give them mortal wounds on 6s, but he's in a weird points place at 150 to where you can't really fit him in. Because there's obligatory things you put in Iron Jaws, right? You got to have 2 War Chantas. You probably want a Weird Knob Shaman and a Mega Boss. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
however many points left. So he
Yeah.
just doesn't really fit in there. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the Great Nash Tooth Kiloboss. That's 10 wounds with the 3-up save. He prevents Cruel Boys from. So if a Cruel Boys unit within 3 inches fails Battle Shock, only 1 model flees at 110 points. Just like by default with that profile is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Only Cruel Boys
yeah.
can have that profile.
Put
At that
30,
point.
put 30 Gut Rippas next to him and be like, oh, one runs away.
I dealt with that
like,
in LVO, and it was just like these 2 giant blocks. They're just wounds and mortal wounds, right? And just having one of those guys just sitting there in the back, nothing's gonna run. Nothing. They're not gonna. You can't scare him away. And he just does utility things. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Bone Reapers, we all saw it coming. So first Gothazar Harvesters were good, and their rules got completely obliterated. Then Immortus Guard were too good, and Necropolis Stalkers were too good, so they stopped with the regen. Then they changed Null Myriad, and now they're changing the Morghast, which have been good.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just bringing everything from overtuned to slightly better than not good.
Mm-hmm.
One unit at a time. So as an OCR Bone Reaper player, I will repeat it again. We are kind of locked into 1 or 2 sub-factions, and we're using half of the war scrolls that we've been given in the book, and it's not very fun. I want it to be more fun in 4th edition. For right now, I'm just going to hang in there, just like I did after 2nd edition, and I'll just wait for another year and see how it goes. So hopefully they get a Battle Tome early in edition 4. That's my feelings on them. I'm still going to keep playing them because I love them. An absolutely massive Bone Reaper army.
Yep. A shout out to my friend who loves the catapults, and he gets more for his buck with the catapults.
Yeah, they can do some things, man.
Mm-hmm.
They can make things fight last. The problem is a catapult is very easy to shut down with its minimum range. As soon as you get within 6 inches of it, it's just done.
Yep, that's how you deal with that's how you deal with them in Age of Empires.
Yeah. It makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Here's some juicy, spicy stuff.
Lord Croak up 30, Ripplejactyl Chiefs down. Astrolith Bearer up 20, Skink Starseer up 20, Slen Starmaster. Oh, a lot of star in there. I wonder where they're targeting. Carnosaurs both down 20. Stegodon's down 20. Stegodon Chief's down 20, but he's, Pterodon Chief, Ripperdactyls, Pterodon Riders. Yeah, they're just pushing Starborn into the ground. Nice that they have a lot of the stuff in Coalesced that you take with Coalesced is gotten better. Might be the Ripperdactyl meta now. Let's see what my friend
Yeah.
Dragoon says about that.
I feel like Carnosaurs are pretty cheap. Like you could take like 4 of them now and still build another list.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're getting to the point to where I'm like, dang, like that could be a thing. I agree that Ripperdactyls are good. They are very fast. There's some really fun things that you can do with them. The fact that you can't summon reliably with Starborn anymore, and they just increased that list by 90 points. That's sad because the,
Yeah.
the the army is so non-interactive, but at the same time, like it's so glass cannon. If you have
Mm-hmm.
certain builds, like as soon as you get through if you have enough army to get through those screens on a double turn and get into those temple guard, it's over for Starborn. So, like, there's armies that can beat it very easily and counter it very easily, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's just armies that don't. So people just are going to stop playing it. It's just like when they increase Legion of Blood by 170 points to the basic meta build, then everybody just moved to different subfactions. So that's what's going to happen. It's exciting that they're supporting that by giving Kroxigor more wounds and making these big dinosaurs so cheap. So we're going to have some weird, funny lists coming up pretty soon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yep.
people are going to enjoy that.
That's my answer to Brett there. He's Croxigor and Ripperdactyls. Somebody doesn't play Seraphon at all. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. 18 Kroxigor and 18 Ripperdactyls. There's
There
your
you go.
list.
There you
One
go.
hero.
Yep. Drop the toads from the sky. All
Okay,
right.
rats.
Rats. Rats. Screaming Bell, I know that was one of the big things that's being spammed all the time. I don't know how much this really impacts that list. The Plague Sensor Bear is going up and the Plague Monk's going up. Because they doubled the size. I was like, 90 point? But no, they
Yeah.
just doubled the size of the unit.
So
Um,
that list operates like so. You put the screaming bells in front of your whole army, and they can pass wounds. So they
mhm,
pass all their wounds to clan rats or whatever, and then the sensor bearers jump through the holes and just beat things down with their
mhm,
ridiculous melee profile that they get for being 90 points. So that all going up a little bit makes a difference. 3 screaming bells and say 3 units
mhm.
on the low side of the plague sensor bearers. That's a 90-point difference.
Yeah.
So
So it
yeah,
seems to address like the meta build, but not. But like I know Skaven players, they like to have fun with stuff, and it looks like a lot of the fun stuff went down. Um,
Thankful went down 30 points. That's scary.
mhm,
Vermin Lords going down is
yeah.
fantastic. Engineer, Warp Lightning Cannon. When you look at those are things that you're gonna see a lot of. So you'll see like 2 engineers and 3 Warp Lightning Cannons. So that list is 50 points cheaper. Are Storm Fiends on there?
I don't see
Good,
Stormfiends. No,
good. They're
Rat
not on
Ogres.
there. They're too good. They're too good.
Yeah,
When you overpower their weapons and they're all multiple damage, it's insane. Like
yeah,
nine of those can kill 1,000 points of your army.
yeah. I know the Plague Claw was used a lot as an ally for Nurgle, right?
I've not used it as a ally, but the Plague Claw does things. Yeah, it does nasty nasty things
Yeah,
sometimes.
especially when you're
I'm acting like I know. I don't know
yeah
what they do anymore. Uh,
they
they used to
claw
be really
plagues.
good.
Yeah. Um,
If I was a good streamer, I would like be on my second monitor looking stuff up and be like having intelligible answers to things, but it's midnight and you're the one running the stream, not me. I'm
yeah,
just here to
yeah.
have
I've
fun.
got Wahapedia, but that was partly why I resized the Discord and got everything screwed up.
Am I the only one that goes on Wahapedia and it just isn't working a lot of the time? It's like, oh, you can't
I
use it.
don't know. There's more ads now, but it's generally fine.
Chris, I am so happy you're here, man. It's like we're hanging out together. One day we'll get to meet face to face, and I hope that you visit us for these streams where it's 3 in the morning where you're at more often.
Be on the stream with us 3 in the morning.
Yeah, we can actually talk every time somebody comments in the stream. We can stop and be like, "Hey," and answer the question.
Yep.
It'll be weird when there's so many comments that we can't keep up with all of them.
Archeon, Dedra,
Okay.
Skullscryer. Like,
Cool.
yep.
Archeon for 40 points cheaper. Heck yeah. I
Heck
like
yeah.
to take I
Oh,
like to
thanks,
take
Chris.
Archeon with 2 sorcerers and some knights, and then see if I'm getting the double turn or not by looking into the future. And if I do, I can win. And if I don't, then I'll lose because I only have
Mm-hmm.
4 units on the board.
Yep. And now you can throw in a prismatic palisade into that list.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the burning head.
Oh yeah, gotta get
I
the burning
would
head.
I would choose head any day.
Yeah.
Sons of Behemoth.
Man Crusher's down. That's really good because you bring a lot Man Crusher mobs and War Stomper.
There's a sub faction where they count as more on objectives, and then there's a
Mm-hmm.
sub faction where they're more damaging.
Mm.
Both really fun. I want to get 2 more lots of 3 Man Crusher mob and just like have the best time ever,
Yep.
or maybe just make them MSU and just run around with 9 different units
Jeez,
and
that's
be
like
like,
a yeah. They're 20 points less than Sharks now. Like they used to kind of be equivalent. Yeah.
yeah, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
When 3 of them run into you, it hurts.
Yeah.
But they just have T-shirt saves. So like if you can
Mm-hmm.
do 12 wounds into a 5 up, then you're gonna drop them pretty fast.
Yeah, they're really fun as Ideneth because they don't have armor. Anything that doesn't have
All
armor.
right, Andrew, I'm invigorated. I thought I was tired, but I'm all excited again because we're gonna talk about Soulblight Gravelords. Everybody
Okay.
hates them, and I love them. I love them so much. And read the points so I can talk about it some more.
All right. Corpse Cart up 10. Uh, Ivya Volga, the Outcast, up down 5. The
Yeah.
Velmorns,
Yeah.
up 10. Nagash down.
Okay. Okay.
Vordry down 30. Terrorgeist down 10. White King down 10. Zombie Dragon down 10. Fellbats up 10. Vargeist down 10. And Blood Knights down 10. Ooh, Blood Knights.
Okay, good. Stop right there. I'm going to answer Chris's question. MSU means minimum sized unit. So you could take 9 single out Man Crusher Gargants and just be really annoying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I will offer you 1 Gargant at a time while I count as 15 on objectives
Yep.
and just play the trading game.
Yep.
That's what would be really fun when they get so cheap.
Yep.
Okay, so now I get to talk about Soulblight Gravelord. So Castelli sucks, right? Everybody knows that Castelli sucks. That's why nobody plays them compared to the other sub-factions. However, Prince Vordry going down by 40 points and Blood Knights going down by 20 points means that you're effectively getting like 160 points into a Castelli build. Say you've got a Zombie Dragon, you've got Vordry, and you've got 4 units of those Blood Knights. So that's going to save you 120 points, which means you can fit another summonable unit in there. And a lot of the battle tactics for Soulblight Gravelords are wrapped around summonable units. So it's going to help you with board control. You're going to have plenty of damage output, and you're going to be able to take tons of knights. That's 5 models with a 3-up save and a ward, and they have the hunger, so they heal a number of wounds that they inflict, which means that if any one of them is damaged, then you're likely going to heal it back to full, and when they charge, they get extra damage. They are good, but they have to be cheap enough for you to make a list that has the pieces in it to function. So a couple of units of summonable whatevers, probably 2 MSU units of skeletons to put in the grave to help you get battle tactics and do, little stuff like that, means that your Vordry, Zombie Dragon, and 4 units of Blood Knights can just have the greatest time ever. I'm sitting on 25 Blood Knights that I haven't gotten to unveil because I haven't seen a need to, and now I can. So very, very excited about that. Soulblight Gravelord players who get excited about some of those more, interesting, fun lists versus 1,000 models should be really, really stoked right now because there's nothing more fun than running a death army that has 20 models in it and just steamrolling everything. Like it turns into a destruction army. And it's great for taking to tournaments. So you can represent Soulblight Gravelords, but you don't need to play Vicros or Legion and just run a bunch of shit that it doesn't matter what it is, it just stands on points. You can actually like play fun games with people. I love it. I think that's a very positive change, and Vordry is a steal at 440 points. He does some amazing stuff. He can give himself fight first. If he charges, he has 5 attacks that are ran 3 damage, not counting the shooting attack, the claw attack, and the maw attack. So he's just an absolute blender. Really, really good. And he can hand out the Castelli buff to 2 units instead of 1 if he's within 24 inches of a unit that kills another unit. So he just helps spread the love with buffs and Castelli as well. I'm excited for people to play him. I hope people start playing him immediately because he's great.
So I see like the zombie list went up, 20 points. It takes two corpse cards. I don't know, and the Fellbats going up. I know those guys are span like Fellbats are spanned pretty hard sometimes. Do you think that any of the problematic aspects of Soul Blight are being addressed here, or do you think it's in a pretty good spot?
I think they've already addressed some of the problematic aspects of Soulblight Gravelords. They've changed a lot of their rules. They changed how one of their battle tactics works. They've changed Legion of Blood. They've done all kinds of stuff. They absolutely nerf zombies into the ground.
Yeah.
Once again, they just played the game so well because they're a horde army,
Yeah.
and they're going to continue to do that. But yeah, Fellbats, I think Fellbats maybe went up because there is a Army of Renown coming out that revolves around Fellbats and Direwolves, and I think you can do some fun stuff with them. I think they just made Ivia Volga's 4 scroll a rounded number. She's just okay. She's a beautiful model, and we have her painted, but we've never run her just because she doesn't really do anything. Corpse Carts going up changes some things. You know, they're just slowly creeping up the points values on all of these units. So when you make a list, it doesn't look appetizing. It's just like, this is all I get. And then so that way you look at these other units, right? Like the White King going down, that's fun. You know, but I think Blood Knights and Vordry are the big winners there. The Sons of Velmorn are you know, extremely tanky and good for how cheap they were. So them going up again makes sense. It just seems like they're kicking a couple units while they're down at this point, though. It's time for new edition, new rules for them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. All right, Stormcast Eternals. Once again, green. We got the Drakesworn Templar Karazai, and Karandus, Lord Relictor, Vandus Hammerhand, and the Questor's Soulsworn, which is kind of surprising because those have been the thing that people have been taking. They're the juice, and the juice is cheaper. The big thing with the 2 dragons, though, I know they nerfed their, I think in the FAQ, they no longer give -1 attack to every unit within 3. They have to pick 1. So that's probably reflected in the -20. I don't think that's enough for the nerf they gave them. They weren't particularly problematic, or like, well, yeah, they're not. They're fine. Like they're not going to change that much.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts here with all this green? Is it enough green? Are we continuing the?
Yeah. The Drakesworn Templar at 380 is, I mean, kind of okay. Like Chris was saying in the chat, 4-up save is ridiculous. The fact that it has a 4-up save is just never taken unless you just want a cheap hero that you can put some command traits and artifacts of power into, because sometimes the points just don't fit with dragon builds with Stormcast Eternals. I do like the fact that you can swallow models whole. And there's a couple other things that you can do with the Drakesworn Templar, but the problem is that armor save, man. And the Lord Celestin on Stardrake is just so superior, and it's worth the extra points. That the Drakesworn could be 300 points, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 18 wounds on a 4-up save, and it does mediocre damage. That sounds like a Griffin, Marshall on Griffin to me. Karazai and Krondus. So they did nerf their ability. It doesn't reduce the attacks for every unit next to them, but it was a buff in a way, and you have to look at it from a different angle. They don't have to be in combat, or they don't have to be attacking the giant dragon anymore. So for attacks into the dragon is what the rule used to be. Now the dragon picks a unit within 3 inches and reduces its attacks.
So you can really mess over. Yeah.
Right. So you can screen with some Vanquishers or some Liberators or something, and then, you're within 3 of Karazai. Now you're -1 to attack.
Yeah.
You don't get any work done into the screen. The screen flees the scene, and then the dragons countercharge over the top of them. So there's also, Ionis has a -1 to attack ability that he does too, that has a different War Scroll name, so you can stack it. So if you have Ionis and one of the big dragons, you can still make a unit -2 to its attacks, or 2 separate units -1 to attack. So It's more situational and more techy, and it's a higher skill level, but I wouldn't consider it a hard nerf. They just play a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you can't let your giant dragons get ganged up on unless you've stacked all your saves or you have a ward active or you have some way to
Yeah.
mitigate that.
Yeah. And again, that's scary to me as Idoneth because they got a lot of scalpel stuff that like relies on like thralls or eels that rely on like 2 or 3 attacks to really
Yeah,
push through.
absolutely. So just like Chris was saying, like you got to look at it in a different way, but it makes you play them a little bit differently. The fact that the points keep going down is great, though.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I would like it to go down just a tiny little bit more. So maybe I could take that army of renown that I love so much that's not very good and just put like one more dragon in it. If I
Yeah.
could put one more dragon in it, I would be happy. Stormcast Eternals, though, Vandus Hammerhand is situational, but can do some fun stuff. I think he hands out a +1 attack to Redeemer units in every turn. And then the last thing is Quester Soulsworn are amazing, and they're so good. They've got like 18 attacks, 2 damage. They have 3 wounds, 3 up save. They can teleport once per battle. With Indrasta, you can be resurrecting them.
Yep.
They're good.
Yep.
And 210 points is a freaking steal, dude,
It's a
for
good
18
thing.
wounds on
It's a
3
good
up
thing
save.
Jared lost on stream, or otherwise it might have gone up.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
They're amazing. We have a unit painted. Michael painted them beautifully, and I'm so excited. I wish that Stormcast Eternals would win a poll at some point. We're probably just gonna play 2 games with Stormcast Eternals. I'll make a list, he'll make a list, and then we will poll different armies to play against them. That's what's
Mm.
gonna have to happen next time we get together.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah, they are good. Like they're silly good. Like you
Yeah.
can't really until you experience playing against them. It's just silly how tanky they are and how much
Mm.
damage they do for how cheap they are. And the fact that they went down again just makes me laugh. I feel like they maybe overproduced them, and they're like, okay, we got to sell 50,000 more of these
Yeah.
right away. So let's make them 200 points.
And now,
It's great though. People are gonna have some fun.
yeah, now they're only 10 points more than the Command Corps, which has the same number of wounds. Anyway,
Yes.
yes. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, moving
Last
on.
thing.
Sylvaneth, Alariel down, Drycha down, Warsong Revenant down, and Gladeworm down. Gladeworm's a thing that people don't pick. Alariel is a specific build that sometimes people take. Looks like there's more room in that build.
He's good. Yeah.
Drycha is like kind of on the fence for a lot of things, right? And the
Yeah.
Warsong, I think he was just pushed up and up and up because of all the things he does, and now he gets to have a little bit of room, a little bit of breathing room.
Okay, so I have to comment on the Warsong Revenant. This is a completely ridiculous and unneeded 30 points reduction. That is the best. That's the best Andorian Locust in the entire game.
Mm.
It has a 4-up ward. It can do like 15 mortal wounds at range anywhere on the board. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, amazing model, and it just should be 300 points.
Yeah.
It should be like the Celestin Prime. You pay 300 points to have these abilities. In Naru, it gets its magic off. It does obscene amounts of damage. It's so good. Drycha Hamadreth. Michael made a really interesting comparison the other day when I was playing against Drycha for the first time. Iron Jaws versus Tree Lords. Go check it out.
Yeah, great battle.
Drycha has the same shooting output that a 10-man unit of Judicators does. And a 10-man unit of Judicators is 400 points.
Wow.
And Drycha is 300 points, and she also is pretty beasty in melee. She's got 12 wounds on a 3-up save, and she's a caster. So I don't think she needs a points reduction either. She was great. It's not 24 inches, Chris,
like
but I can't
18.
tell you off the top of my head.
Probably 18.
Yeah. She does mortals on 6s. She's exactly like 10 Judicators, except for she's one beefy model for 100 points cheaper. So I don't know. I'm biased because I play against Michael, who is a fantastic Sylvaneth player, and he knows exactly
Why
how
does
to
he
turn
need
that army
more?
on and off.
He doesn't need
He
more.
doesn't need to get 50 points taken out of the 1980 point list that I just played against. Well, the war song wasn't in it, but yeah,
Yeah.
she makes a really good ally too because she's 300 points. So, like, if you just want to shoot and then
Hmm.
claw some stuff and have a 3-up save, I mean, she can't teleport or anything, but it's nice to have to add a little bit of shooting to some of your
Hmm.
order armies.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's fun. Anyway, that's the whole battle scroll. I think we
Yep.
took a little bit more time to go over that than I thought that we would, but
Yeah.
it was really fun. I'm glad that we had a couple people pop in and check out our late night short notice stream, and we're
Hmm.
definitely going to be, editing this for time and putting it on YouTube so some more people can see it. And I appreciate all of
Yep.
you who showed up. It was a
Anything we
really, really
missed,
fun time. Comment down below if you're
or
watching this on
comment down
YouTube.
below on YouTube.
But thank you to
Yes.
all of you. We're going to be doing more Twitch stuff. I want to give a big thank you to you, Andrew, for taking the time to put together this Twitch stream so we can start doing stuff like this. It's been one of my dreams to connect more with the community and get to talk a little bit more about the game. And I want all of our members and all of our viewers to be involved. So this is a big deal, and it means a lot to me that you took the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem. I look forward to more of this. But yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. I'll go ahead and stop this stream.
Thank you to all of our members for supporting this channel, especially the Lords and Commanders. If you're interested in extra battle reports and helping to support this channel, hit the link in the description box below. Go check out our channel partners, Baron of Dice and Grey Matter Games. They have some amazing products. There will be promo codes and links in the description box below.